Hey everyone, Double Trader here. In today's video I'm going to walk you through a quick recap of London Open session from April 10th. So a little bit of context first. So going into the session I was aware of the fact that my weekly objective was met already. The bias was basically neutral. Asian session was trading higher, so the go-to idea was to look for relative equal lows first as possible targets, and also it was Friday, so possible TGIF scenario after one-sided week was in my mind, and with that I was going to engage the session. So next I will show you three executions that I took, and I will review them in hindsight right now. Alright, so as I said, I was basically focused on the sell-side liquidity, on the relative equal lows that were formed during the Asian session. I outlined the potential liquidity pools, and I utilized a bearish fair value gap. I got slipped a little bit, but nonetheless I used that as my entry. My stop loss, initial stop loss, was above the higher fair value gap, as I wanted to allow for potential deeper retracement if it was in the cards, but nonetheless then I trimmed it slightly above that high, and that's where it was. So nonetheless I was targeting the low, but those relative equal lows that price is trading right now was also an objective for me, and I wanted to see how price will trade after it is reached. And this CB that I noted here was like very important to me, because I didn't want to see this CB being inversed. So no bodies closing above it were actually ideal, and that's what I was looking for. And yeah, I also noted BSI, the last fair value gap before the actual sell-side liquidity that I was aiming for, and I noted it because I was thinking that this might be an area where we could see deeper retracement, or where we could see this potential trade fail in there. So that was basically an area for profit taking, or partial also. Because I only had one contract, I needed to manage it slightly differently in here if I wanted to capture a bigger run and do it more with the stop loss management. So in here, as price is displacing lower towards the BSI, I'm trimming the stop loss more aggressively and looking how price will trade into this BSI. And to be honest, I was willing to see it just smash right through it, but that was not the case. Price tapped into it very gently and then retraced slightly. So I was still looking for a potential lower low, but I was demanding that that lower low closes below this BSI. If that wasn't the case, then I was like happy to kill the trade and get what I could get. So here it engaged the low, and it finally failed to close below it, and that was basically where I closed the trade. Alright, so this was the second trade idea. Price did a little bit of retracement, and I was thinking that the sell side is still intact, so I used the suspension block as my entry. But here I made an actual mistake, because I put my stop loss right above the suspension block instead of using the candle number 1, and it stopped me out with a mojo. And yeah, so that was a mistake on my part. Nonetheless, I was still watching price, whether the idea is still potentially valid, and I saw that price is failing to close above the suspension block, so that was basically hinting to me that lower is still possible. We had relative equal lows formed, so in hindsight I believe that after we close below the suspension block here, any return back to it like here, I could have been going short right there, and that wouldn't be, I mean, that would be a good area for re-entry, right? But nonetheless, I didn't do that. I waited still. Price broke aggressively lower, and I was thinking that it will smash right on through it here, but it failed to take out the low here. So I was like, all right, so if it's leaving the sell side, so any retracement here I could be selling short and aiming for that larger pool of sell side liquidity, and that's what I did basically. I took a sell here at this premium array, ASIBI, and I was targeting that old low from the Asian session sell side. So here I was really like demanding speed and low resistance liquidity run towards the low. So as it closed below the inversion fair value gap here, I moved the stop loss to better than even, and I was just content with watching whether it will reach the target, and it did. So that was pretty cool. All right, so this was basically it in terms of the trades for today. 3 trades and a summary. So proper draw liquidity was identified by me today. 3 executions taken, 2 wins, 1 loss. Very good read on trade 1, clean execution, beautiful exit. Poor stop loss placement on trade 2. It should have been above candle number 1 high. The Mohawk took me out, but it would have been a stellar entry otherwise. Solid re-entry on the 3rd trade, anticipating a low resistance liquidity run into sell side liquidity, and that worked very, very well. Overall, I feel good about today's performance. In my opinion, price was moving reasonably well and actually offered clean low resistance liquidity run conditions. Compared to previous days of high resistance liquidity run, it was really refreshing. So thanks for watching and see you next time.